Is back on the radio.
ESPN.
This is ESPN Columbia, 1230 a.m.
And ESPNColumbia.com.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
Zone with the shot doctor here, Duane Everett. But before we get into any mechanics of the game as it pertains to tonight's show that we've kind of beat up to a certain degree, we're going to give you a taste of something a little more special. And many of you out there with young athletes or aspiring athletes in the game of basketball, they may want to meet this young man, Marseilles Brown, because I want to tell you, this guy, his history and lineage goes way back. He's done some tremendous things of recent, but we're going to let him tell you some of it, and the things he won't tell you, which he's an humble guy, I'll tell you the rest. Marseille, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. How's everything going?
I appreciate you calling in. It's doing great, and of course, it's championship. This is a great time for you to be on. It's Championship Monday, and what you do basically in your program that is centered around the name of Hoops and Life, but it also is has another subtitle for a phase of your program, which is the Elite Guard Training Program that you also have. But you are clearly a basketball skills trainer. I mean, unlike a lot of people who call themselves shooting coach, this or that or the other, your skills go from individual right into team play, starts at 8-year-olds, and is mixed amongst some of the elite at the pro game, and you've even gone overseas to train a U.S. Olympic team down in the Virgin Islands. And I'm sure there's many other things, to include the painful thing of beating my Gamecocks in 1988. But anyway, tell me about your program, and tell us today, how did you even get started with this, and what was your vision, because now it's a reality?
Well, actually, when I started, I was actually struggling in life. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm working 9 to 5s. I'm anywhere from a dock supervisor, warehouse work, substitute teaching, but I just couldn't find that fire. And I got depressed, actually, about where my life was headed, and I just went back to my love. God actually showed me a vision, a lot of what's happening now and what's hopefully coming down the pike. But he told me that I need to share my story with the youth, and at the same time, get them better at basketball. Just tell them about life, but just really train them as hard as I could and prepare them. Because a lot of people don't know what it takes to be successful in this game. They claim they want to play. They claim they want to be good. But when they see what it takes or what it costs, that's where the issue comes in. And that's why you see elite players and average players.
When we talk about, your story, it's very important to kind of talk about that, because the title of your program, the naming of your program and the vision that you were given with this, Hoops and Life. Not hoops in life, but hoops and life, which means you're teaching basketball skills, but you're also teaching life skills.
Correct. Whether it's from the, and I don't have like tutors and study hall sessions and things like that, but I just basically give them information based on what I lived, and tell them I did this. You might not want to do that. And at the same time, I deal with a lot of kids that do some of the stuff I did that was wrong and worse, and I don't judge them.
Right.
I just carry them right along, try to be that shoulder for them to lean on, and then push them in the right direction, like everybody did me. Everybody say it takes a village. They say it takes a village, and that's the truth, to raise these kids.
If you're just joining us, if you're just hitting the airways, we're talking to Marseilles Brown, who is actually, and I want to talk because it's the French. It is the French spelling of the name, by the way. It's Marseilles, Brown. Yeah. And just give you a little bit, folks, about him, because he'll never say it unless I do it. So, again, I like to call it he was one vote shy. I like to call it that way, because when you're an honorable mention, McDonald's All-American, you're right there where somebody couldn't make the right decision, and they made the other decision, but he was right there, recognized as one of the top 30 basketball players coming out of high school in America. Generally, I think it's 6 honorable mentions. I think 3 on each side, I believe, is the way it works, or it might even be 2, so it would have been the top 28. But he's right there. And he actually broke Allen Iverson's high school scoring record with 31 points per game, 31 plus points per game. And by the way, you're out of the Hampton area, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was born in Hampton. By the way, I
Wow.
thought I'd give you that. Yeah, I
Wow.
was born in Hampton a few years before you, but yeah, I was born right there at Fort Monroe. But
Okay.
but yeah, and he earned the Rookie of the Year in the CAA, and you as a player, you just got better every year. As it went along, and became ultimately an outstanding player. We had a chance as a program here to see you at Richmond do your thing, and then ultimately you went back home. Tell me about leaving Richmond, where you'd made a name for yourself, and then you went back home and finished your basketball playing career successfully, I might add, right there at Hampton.
Right. I actually left Richmond involuntarily. I got in trouble. I was out there trying to, just acting a fool, so to speak. And my coach then, he's now the head coach at Michigan, John Beeline.
Yeah, John Beeline, yeah.
We have a great relationship. But he put his foot down, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I was playing a lot of minutes there. We won a championship. As you stated, we went to the NCAA and upset. But I had to go. So I had to pick up and start all over back at home in Hampton, Virginia, at Hampton University. And by that time, I had a huge chip on my shoulder, fighting against myself. But I was fortunate enough to get a few more transfers. They came in at the same time, guys out of Clemson and Syracuse. It was like the perfect storm at Hampton.
Right.
And we had great coaching staff, Steve Murfeld, Bobby Collins. So when I got there, we had a great run. We won my junior year. We didn't win it all. We won 17 games, and then my senior year, we ended up winning 25. And we were one of the only 15 seeds to upset a 2 seed in the NCAA. So we caught Iowa State in the first round, got them.
And I remember that game so well. As easily as we can talk about that one, I also remember obviously the South Carolina game. But I remember your success as a 15 over a 2 in that particular game. And because I should have gone to Hampton myself years ago, I actually can admit I didn't have you in 88, but I did pick you in my bracket actually in 2001.
Oh.
Yeah, y'all were 15. Y'all were one of the ones everybody thought I was crazy for picking. I picked you guys because y'all had done some big things through the year, and y'all were winning by some big margins too.
Right.
Y'all weren't like eking by, so I kind of picked you. But let's go back to your training. You have this sort of a knack for being able to deal with 8, 9, 10-year-olds. Then you have the ability, such as one of your current prodigies that you have, a 7 Wood, to develop a kid who will eventually follow in your footsteps. He will be recognized by McDonald's All-American selection committees. And let's face it, he's on the edge of potentially being a Naismith Player of the Year. I mean, he has those kinds of skills, and you've had a chance to give him that fire to, as you said earlier, to invest or determine what it costs to be great. Tell me about that and how you get kids to buy in.
Well, I'm just real with them. They believe what I'm telling them, and I just give them as much of the truth as I can. I'm silly, so that helps. I'm really silly, but at the same time, I require like a dog-like work ethic. So I tell them, if you don't work this hard, you're not going to get anything. So and I talk to them on the phone. I text them. I go to their schools, and I'm not saying I do this to get any recognition. I'm just telling you exactly. I'm answering your question.
Right.
I develop a genuine relationship with them and their parents. In Seven's case, I got him when he was like 12. P.J. Dozier, another one that slept on, but not by the people that matter, which
right.
is the ESPN ranking board. Got them when they were in the 8th grade, and they bought in to what I was saying. And, we developed that relationship, and they're just taking off. I must say this, they were good before I got them, though.
Right.
They were really good. I didn't make them or anything like that. They had great parents, great coaches and trainers before me. I just take what I was given. I was given the blessing, and molded it, and I try to mold it, make it better. That's all I do, and they trust me.
Right. Now, you have a knack for the game. You have a burn and a fire for the game. The passion you have can be heard in your voice, and it can be seen in your workouts. But you likewise, you've got a brother who is coaching, college basketball. Why the training and not maybe going into coaching, which at this juncture of your career could probably be pretty easy for you?
Yeah, it would be. I think it would be I wouldn't say easy, but it would be a transition that wouldn't be too hard,
right,
so to speak. I know the right people,
right,
but I think, because what people don't know, I never worked out in college. I ate in college based on the work that I did in high school. So I felt like, and I was offered a contract to go play in Den Helder, Holland when I came out, and I didn't take it. It wasn't enough money. So I think that part of me, because I play with my kids and against them now,
mm-hmm,
I think I'm trying to make up for what I didn't do. Part of me really believes that, because I play hard with them, man. I'm trying to kill them. I'm talking trash. I'm mad if I lose. So I think that has a lot to do with, what I do as a whole anyway. The fact that I missed out on an opportunity I had in '01.
There's in reading some of your bio, there is there's something that it's key here, and I want to read it if you don't mind. And it says that speaking of Coach Brown, and it says he takes all of his positive and negative experiences in hoops as well as life and shares them with his clients in an effort to prevent them from making the same mistakes that he made as a youngster. That in itself is commendable. If someone isn't even successful in their child becoming maybe a replication at a college level as, say, a you or many of your other prodigies, just that alone could be of great help to many. So for that reason, I'd like for you to let some of the listeners know out there, how can they get in touch with you, or how can they research about your program and then follow up later and get in touch with you, because your story is great, but your program, I think, is even greater.
I so appreciate it. But the best way to contact me, they could go on my website, which is hoopsandlife.com, and I'll have all my contact information up there. I'm also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram under my name, Marseille Brown, spelled the French way. I'm gonna take that from you. I'm gonna start saying it like that. And email, they can find my email on the website, but it's Marseille_Brown@yahoo.com.
Now, let me ask you, in basketball today, with kids coming up, and I came up in a different era. I'm easily 15 years older than you are, if not a little more. Actually, by the date, I'm more than that. I'm 20 years older than you. And I came up in a drill sergeant, militaristic era, in the 70s. You came up in the late 80s, with mid to late 80s, with still a high discipline area, but a transition of how kids were dealt with. And now there's a certain level of entitlement that separates your era from this era and this era from my era. How do you see the current game of basketball and the kids who want to be great? where do you see the positives and where do you see the negatives with kids now?
Well, I think, as the farther you go back, the harder the game was played from the more physical the game was. I mean, you could literally punch a guy in the face in the 80s, and especially 70s, 80s, and just get a technical foul and keep playing. Now, you'll be kicked out of the league. So the physicality of the game has changed. As far as the kids, I think they're more athletic nowadays. So that they're more focused on dunking than they are on skill development. I don't think it's really so much of a negative because a lot of them do work out, but that's what you're going to get. Back in the day, they were focused on that mid-range game, that jumper, the skill development, so they weren't as athletic. Now it's flipped the other way. You got 7-foot guys that are wings. There are no posts anymore.
Right.
I mean, but as far as their mentality, a lot of kids nowadays are coming up. They're the man of their household. So you have to empathize with them. They're not used to people telling them what to do in a certain way like my father did. He said, get over there and do this. And if I didn't do it, he smacked me across the face. You can't deal with a child that's the man in his own household that way. And you can't blame them for being that way. You have to find another way to approach them so that he'll accept it, and it has to be genuine. If they see you're ingenuine, they're going the other way anyway. And that's where another advantage I've had. I came up in a suburban home. Both parents were teachers, but with some wrong turns I made in my life, I ended up in the hood. So I just share both of those experiences, and I can really relate to both types of kids. It's just a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have named 2 players locally that have, hit the national scene. They are definitely recognized. One, of course, out rehabbing, but still working out and obviously working out with you in P.J. Dozier, and will return to the hard court next year for his senior year. And then you have Seven Wood, who is the talk of the town and somewhat the talk of the nation. In dealing with them, has it become now, because they are so focused now, is it still a difficult task to get them to reach for that extra level, or have you found it easier now to get them because they understand it?
No, I would, and I have to say this. I've worked a lot more closely with Seventh, a lot more often. PJ's uncle and his father worked with him a lot too.
Right.
So I don't want to take that shine right there, but they're a breeze to work with. They're hungry for knowledge. They're really humble kids. Their parents did an excellent job raising them. That's one thing I can say about this generation. They're very mannerable, respectful, and they listen to what you have to say. And they, in those 2 kids' cases, they take it and they use it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're a rare breed.
Right.
They're out of everybody in their class, they're top 20s. So they're a rare breed. That's what the rare guys do. They're blessed with a lot, and then they apply what they're taught, not just from me, but from their coaches, their family, anybody. Anything good, as I always teach them, I tell whoever I'm training, if I say something you think you can use, keep it. If you don't think you can use it, then throw it out.
Right. That's a good point. That's a great point.
Right.
Coming from, and I love this kid to this day because he was very similar, is that Raymond Felton Sr. brought Raymond Felton Jr. to me when he was 12, just turning 13. And I, like you, was his workout coach for a number of years. And I told his father when he was 13 that he would be the most sought-after guard in the state of South Carolina. Well, he far exceeded my projections and became a Naismith player. But I say this to say this, and I hope that Seven continues what you're saying, because Raymond was a sponge, and Seven Wood is, in my opinion, about a year ahead of Raymond Felton. At the same stage since the time I saw him at 14.
Right.
I have considered that kid to be 1 year ahead of Raymond. every year. And that, in my opinion of that, has not changed. So, hopefully he will continue to be the sponge that Raymond was. At the same time, to give you a tale of two stories, the two kids I had at the same time was Major Wingate and Raymond Felton. And look at the results. The one who listened and the other who thought, that I was embellishing what it took to be great. So, I think your program is great. We want to continue to promote it here with ESPN Radio and through our media outlets as well. And we hope to have you back on in a couple weeks to maybe talk some more after we find out where a lot of the kids are going to end up going, the final phase of kids, and maybe talk some more about your program and some of the things you'll be doing this summer around the community. And likewise, I've already told my grandson, who's getting ready to turn to your age of qualification. He's just short of 8. I've already told him that he's getting ready to meet somebody way better than his grandfather and his uncle, who coaches as well at the college level, my son. But I've told him that you're his next coach. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time you're getting ready to get another kid with a hunger for basketball.
I sure appreciate it. I thank you for having me. Honored to be on.
Well, we appreciate it. He's Marseille Brown. He is the founder and the director of Hoops and Life. And again, go to hoopsandlife.com, research, and if you have a child in your community or your home, get in touch. I think you'll never regret it. Thanks a lot, Marseille.
All right, thank you. Take care.
All right. You're in the zone. It's been a pleasure. It's championship night, and don't touch that dial because next up is Bobby and Ernest.
This is Lee with the Carolina Ale House.
ESPN is back on the radio.
ESPN.
This is ESPN Columbia, 1230 a.m.
And ESPNColumbia.com.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.